Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. It's official, Andy Ruiz Jr. has a new trainer. The former unified champion will now be working with noted trainer Eddy Reynoso, who has confirmed on his own Instagram page, he says, verified. Welcome to the team, Andy. Let's hit it and good. And then it is followed by adding a whole bunch of his fighters. And you can see here in the picture that Reynoso posted to his Instagram, this is Ruiz with Canelo Alvarez. And presumably this was taken in Saudi Arabia a number of months ago. Canelo came to that fight, a number of snaps with Ruiz, wished him well, etc. Also adding Oscar Valdez, Ryan Garcia, Frank Sanchez, Luis Neri, Cesar Martinez. So Ruiz Jr. is joining a very good stable of fighters in general. Reynoso has been building the stable in recent years, obviously the centerpiece Canelo Alvarez. And this is a relationship that could go either one of two ways, that Ruiz Jr. reforms to some extent and he does sort of come back and do some notable things in the ring, maybe cleans up his image, because over the course of his career, one of the things that has dogged him is his dedication. And some of that you might sort of say, well, that is borne out in the way that he appears in terms of being a heavy-set guy. But, you know, going back to even when he was a kid, he was always a big kid, and that's always persisted. And when he turned pro, he was something like 297 pounds. His lowest weight, and bear in mind, he's listed at 6'2", but maybe more like 6 foot. His lowest weight is the mid 240s. So clearly some of the dedication and some of the nutrition over time has been an issue, but it's not just that. It's coupled with laziness. That's one of the things that has hampered Andy Ruiz Jr. even in his most recent training camps. Obviously, in the final weeks of the camp for the Joshua rematch, he blew out to 283 pounds. He had been fining down and getting into better shape, but then all of a sudden just ate his way to 283 and ate himself out of the unified heavyweight champion belts that he held. So Andy Ruiz Jr. is a guy who's looking for some redemption, some salvation, but can he find it in the form of Eddy Reynoso? And this is the thing, because some of it, it's not all down to his new trainer. Some of it is down to Andy Ruiz Jr. And when you consider he's trained with notable trainers in recent years, Manny Robles, and you also have Abel Sanchez, you start to look at this guy and go, he's the problem. It's not the trainers. Clearly, they're there to work with him, help him, improve him. But if he's not going to put the dedication, the hard work, the effort in, they can only take him so far. And Ruiz Jr. was very open after the loss to Anthony Joshua, saying that he was blowing off training camp, he didn't train properly, etc. He wanted to spend time with his friends. And that ultimately showed in the condition that he came in at. So coming to Eddy Reynoso now, he is a trainer that is going to expect Andy Ruiz Jr. to be disciplined, to put in the work. Not things that have always been associated with Ruiz Jr. Sure, we've seen flashes. He's been in some good fights, obviously beat Joshua. But is he going to be able to string it together, come in better shape? I guess one of the things that Reynoso will be looking to do as well, not just apart from bringing Ruiz's weight down to something a bit more manageable that, you know, he's looked good at, somewhere maybe in the 250s or at 260-ish. You know, he's going to be looking to try add a few more strings to Ruiz Jr.'s bow, because that second Joshua fight, it was again sort of reinforcing the blueprint to beat Ruiz Jr. Ruiz Jr., like in the Joseph Parker fight, sort of fights the same way and doesn't really sort of vary it up, same sorts of combinations. But now Reynoso is going to have to look at this guy and go, people know how to beat this guy now. If they can utilize their height and reach, obviously sometimes easier said than done, they can box their way to a decision. Two fighters have done that against him. And Ruiz Jr. can't just wait for counter opportunities, because sometimes the perfect opportunity may not come. It came in the first fight, didn't come in the second. And he needs to be able to actually draw down on some of his ability to try do something to close the distance, cut off the ring, throw some different combinations, because he became a little bit too predictable in the second fight. Ultimately wasn't able to do too much. Joshua knew what to expect, and that's because he saw it all in the first fight. And we've seen with Reynoso, with the likes of Canelo Alvarez, and maybe Ryan Garcia is a better example as well, there's been steady improvement. There's a reason why a lot of guys are joining him now. You have the likes of Frank Sanchez, a heavyweight as well. He has been with Reynoso for a period now, and he's been looking better and better. A lot of these fighters are coming to Reynoso and actually looking better because of it. Sometimes, a new trainer, it doesn't pay off in huge dividends, but there's a lot of these guys that are measurably better after spending a period of time with Reynoso. And with Ruiz Jr. looking a little bit predictable, he is a smaller heavyweight in the context of the division, and some of the ways that he can win a fight might be a little less than others, like taller fighters who can rely more on height and reach. There needs to be a few new wrinkles added to Ruiz Jr.'s game. Clearly couldn't cut off the ring to any extent against Joshua, didn't really do too much, just waited for opportunities that never came. And we've seen Andy Ruiz Jr., he can box, but he's got to put those fast hands to work in a better way going forward. He can't just wait and wait for an opportunity that may never come. So I would expect under Reynoso that we're going to see Andy Ruiz Jr. improve in terms of a technical standpoint. You may have seen that video that Teddy Atlas did, spending an hour breaking Andy Ruiz Jr.'s flaws down, and effectively said, look, this guy's got a whole bunch of flaws that he hasn't been working on and fixing. He's had them for years and years, but people focus on his weight. They don't focus on the things that he needs to adjust. And there's probably a lot of truth in that as well. I think people have been fixated on his weight. And joining Reynoso, who has been shown to improve fighters, and joining a camp where you have hard workers like Canelo Alvarez, you have these other guys who are thirsting to improve and be better, that's going to be a good environment for Andy Ruiz Jr. Maybe it'll be one of these things that there's a bounce for maybe a year or so. Maybe he will fall back into his old habits, but he is with a new trainer now. Hopefully the discipline, the effort that he's going to put in will pay dividends, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship for both of them, because if Reynoso can potentially reinvent Andy Ruiz Jr. to some extent, and I'm not saying wholesale, overhaul or anything like that, but there is clearly room for improvement, and not just on the diet front, but from a technical standpoint. Maybe just, adding in some new combinations and other bits and pieces. Ruiz Jr. likes to throw the same sort of punches. It's that muscle memory. It's ingrained, that sort of thing. So I like this link up for both of them. And I think the guys that will be around him, because they'll either be down in Mexico or San Diego, depending on where camps are, etc. I think some of the guys in that gym will hold him to account. And I think he needs that. I think more recently he's been the sort of, top of the sort of tree where he's been. But not now. He is very much a B-side to Canelo, who is clearly the top dog in that gym. And maybe that's going to be good for Ruiz. Less expectation, less pressure. That he can at least maybe pick up some habits and work with these guys that he respects and get better. Ultimately, we want to see him in good fights. And he is only in his early 30s, so there is time for him to get back to the mountaintop. But will he put the effort in? We'll see. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.